Welcome, gender-conscious friends. I'm your host, Fate Zay. My pronouns are they, he, she, and I'm so glad the simulation brought you here today. This is Our Lives, Gender Included, where I and another gender-conscious friend talk about things found in everyday life and how gender, if at all, affects those topics. This episode's topic will be romantic relationships, but before I introduce our guest, I gotta get the important stuff out of the way. First of all, thank you listeners and everyone who helped me make this podcast possible. And if you could please rate and review this podcast if the platform you're listening on supports it, it would be super appreciated and super helpful. Also, if you are into the social media thing, links for all of my socials will be on my website, lyricallyfaight.wixsite.com/fatezay. All the social links are at the bottom of the first page. So my TikTok, which I use a lot, my Insta, which I use sometimes, my YouTube, which I'm trying to get into using more, my Twitter, which I basically never use, but if you want to follow me there, along with the link to this podcast and where you can follow it on other different podcast platforms, a wish list if you would like to give me a present, and Patreon, where you can support me financially in exchange for different benefits. And with that, on to the episode.
Hello.
So this is our gender conscious friend, Jake Balanzar.
Yes.
Okay, Jake Balanzar. So to start off, I'm just going to talk about your gender journey. Like, just tell me how you sort of figured out how you got here.
Okay. So when I was about 6 years old, I would basically, I have an older brother, and I would be like, okay, so I want to be a boy. You're going to teach me how to be a boy. And he would give me all of his clothes, and I would put them on. And we would literally go in the backyard, and he would train me into like how to walk and like talk like a boy and like how to do all those things. And I was living for it. And I was still wearing the clothes, and I had gone outside to take out the trash, and one of my neighbors thought that I was my brother, and it made me excited.
Nice.
So after that, I just kind of told my parents, I was like, I'm a boy. That's me now. And I come from a very Christian conservative home that's not the most educated or was accepting of LGBTQ plus people. So they were just kind of like, no, you're not. That's dumb. And I was like, no. And my dad said, well, if you can pee standing up, then you're a boy, but you can't, so you're not. So I went to the bathroom, and then I did that, and I told him so proud. And
yeah.
He was still just kind of like, no.
People think like girls can pee standing up too.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, it's tricky.
Yeah, like it's a little difficult, but once you figure out where it's coming from, super easy.
Yeah, and I was determined, so I got it done. But yeah, so once my parents were just kind of like, no, that's like not how things work, I was just kind of like, oh, okay. But yeah, and then once I just kind of lived my life as a straight girl until about like a little bit after I graduated high school. I kind of like stumbled upon some YouTube videos like Sam Collins, and was like, holy crap, that's me. I'm very much trans. That's insane. So I was looking into that for a bit, and I told some friends, and then I was still living at home, so I got scared, went very deep back into the closet. And then fast forward to the end of 2020, and everybody's on TikTok, and my For You page very much was for me and told me, you're like trans, but like also non-binary is a thing. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So yeah, I stumbled through the internet hole of that, discovering myself. And at that point, I am married to my husband, and I came out to him, and things have just been rolling smoothly since then. And we are transmasked now.
Nice. Speaking of married, since this episode's topic is romantic relationships, have you been in many romantic relationships?
I've been in, let me count on my fingers because I can do that. And it's gonna be like not all even all of them. 1, 2, 3. I think I've been in like 4 relationships total, so not really a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have all the people you dated thought you were straight minus your husband, or like?
So my first boyfriend ever was my freshman year of high school, and I was very much like straight girl. If people thought that I was like gay in any way, I was very like, no, I'm not, like very defensive. Like, oh my gosh, me? No. Like, even though I am very much
Me?
bisexual. Yeah. So, and the whole gender thing, like, I just, like, I didn't know that transgender was even a thing yet. Like, I didn't know if that was, it wasn't a thought in my brain. So my first boyfriend definitely just saw me as a straight girl, and it didn't last very long. It probably lasted like 2 weeks. Yeah, and I just didn't feel comfortable in that relationship. And I feel like part of a lot of the discomfort in my relationships, like in high school and things like that, was because like I was seen as a straight girl, and it just didn't make sense in my brain.
Yeah.
It didn't fit.
I don't know when we would count first relationships because, like, technically, my
Yeah.
first relationship was like second grade. I had a little boyfriend for like a week. He didn't want to
Oh
play
my
with me on the
God.
playground, and we broke up.
Dramatic. The
But
drama.
like, I guess
Wow.
my like actual first real romantic relationship was maybe fifth grade. And it was this like super toxic, like on and off relationship that lasted like 6 months.
Did you ever feel like when you were in those relationships, you almost had to like force yourself to play the part of like the straight girl?
It's funny because I'm pretty sure that I'm autistic. So like I'm basically always pretending. So
Right
like
on.
it didn't
Yeah.
feel weird. It was like, yeah, I'm a girlfriend, I'm a normal person, we're
You're
just talking
following the
about the
rules.
weather.
The
Yeah,
rules. Yeah.
the
I
rules.
totally relate to that. 100%. No, it was definitely like I remember because like I didn't have a lot of boyfriends. Not a lot of boys liked me. And I remember like thinking like I would be like the perfect girlfriend. I would follow all the rules. I would like say all the right things. I would, like still be myself, but like the myself that they wanted to see basically.
Yeah.
And that's like it was so bad. But
Yeah.
definitely that same just kind of like neurodivergent brain of thinking like, oh, like, well, that's how it's supposed to be, and I am supposed to follow the rules, and that's what relationships are.
Yeah.
When that's not.
Have you dated any women or non-binary people?
So in my like sophomore year of high school, I discovered I was bisexual. Ooh. Um, and I had this friend that they're so gorgeous. They at the time identified as a girl, so we were both just 2 girlies at the time. They're now non-binary, and they're like literally my best friend in the whole world, like my sibling. But I remember I discovered I was like bisexual, and I realized like I really like this person. They're very, very gorgeous and beautiful. I think I have a crush on them. So we sat next to each other in math class, and I like wrote a little note, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm gay, and I like you. And we just kind of had like, I would say it was more of like I hate this word, but like a situationship. Because I had a brother that went to the same school as me, and I was scared of being outed, and I wasn't ready for my parents to know. So I just kind of like, after like a couple weeks of like, I just felt bad. I was like, I don't like sneaking around. I don't like making this person feel like they have to do that, because what we're doing isn't wrong, and I want them to like have experiences that they can't have, and they can't have that with me because I'm just not ready for it. So I ended up breaking it off, and I feel like it didn't really count as a relationship, but it still was like sweet to me.
I think it counts.
Yeah, it was very like short lived, and I think I just texted him. I was like, "I'm sorry."
it
And I
like
wish it
made
wasn't
you
like that,
happy
but
still though. So like that definitely
yeah,
counts.
yeah, yeah. But so that's like that was literally my only situation with like not a cis man.
Yeah.
But yeah. What about you, friend?
I have only dated one woman.
Okay.
Um, it was my senior year of high school. I was I was going through a rough time, actually.
Oh
Um,
no.
and I had broken up with my boyfriend of like 3 or 4 years. And like I was like, I'm gonna date women. This is gonna be great.
Yes.
And then I dated this girl who was like new to my high school that year. And she was amazing. I literally like if she still lived in the same state, then like we'd be like friends. I mean, probably not because she does sports, but like
You're like, I would pretend.
yeah, like I would like pretend that I knew you were talking about when you told me about basketball. But like
Me.
she's got a whole girlfriend in like South Carolina or something. So
Oh,
I'm
good for
good.
her. Good for her.
Yeah, but it's basically the same thing as you, but opposite. We were dating for like a month, but like she had family who lived in the school, and her parents didn't really know about her and were pretty conservative. So like I was like, I broke up with my boyfriend and I want to date women. I don't want to be like hiding. Like this sucks.
Yeah, yeah, no.
And I was like, I'm so sorry, but this is a lot harder than I thought it would be.
That's fair. No,
Yeah.
that's really fair because it's like at the end of the day, it has to be something that you're both comfortable with doing. And if that's not what you want, that's very mature of you to be like, this isn't really what I want from really.
And it's funny because in my senior year was when I started to be like a little bit more me.
Mhm.
Like after all the crazy shit happened, I was kind of just done masking. So like I unintentionally just unmasked around everyone. And like I would say things like, man, I look like a little boy. And people would be like, no, you don't. I'd be like, yes, I do.
You're like,
Yes, I
no,
do.
that's not what I wanted from you.
Like I
Oh my
get
God.
mad and like argue with people.
Oh
But like
my
not with
gosh.
her. She'd be like, but you're my pretty girlfriend. And I'd be like, okay, I'm your pretty girlfriend.
You're like, okay, yeah. No, I feel like that's so it's so discouraging though, because I know that there are a lot of stories of people who will come out as like gender nonconforming and when they are in a relationship with a girl and it's like, oh, but you're my pretty girlfriend. And it's like, but that's not my boundary.
Yeah. Yeah. Like back then I hadn't fully figured it out. Like I
Yeah.
like knew that trans people exist and like the like gender fluid was a thing because one of my siblings thought that she was.
Hmm.
She's just a demi girl. Um
Fun.
yeah. But I didn't think I was. I was like, yeah, I'm always pretending about something, but like not about my gender.
Yeah. No, because like I am very much autistic. And like when you're always in this constant mode of like doing what you're supposed to do and like trying to pick up the mannerisms you're supposed to and like, oh well, this person looks how I look like, so and I want to be pretty too because people see them as pretty, so I want to mimic that. And
Yeah.
it's so confusing. I feel like it adds this whole other layer to like how you present yourself to like people you're attracted to.
Yes. And it's so funny because like my entire like high school career, like even though I was dating somebody,
Mhm.
I would still like hyper femme it up because like that's what girls were
Yes.
supposed to do. So that way
Yeah, it
guys
was
would think you look
definitely the
pretty.
age of what years were you in high school?
I graduated 2019.
Okay, so we were like in like the same. I
Oh
graduated in
yeah.
2017, so we are just
Yeah.
2 years off. But it was so much the age of hyper glam makeup,
Hmm.
super poppin' highlighter, thick brows, like the age of YouTube makeup. Like it was so much that,
Yes.
and that's so much fun. Like I had so that was so me. Like
Yes.
I would have a
Like if
full
it
V.
didn't give me dysphoria, I would do my makeup every single day.
Yeah. But like, yeah, it was so very much like, oh, but and then you didn't want to, oh, you don't want to do too much because boys would always say like, oh, like I don't like too much makeup. I like a natural girl, this and that. And it was such a conflict of like, this is fun, but also gender, but also boys. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Liking boys is always messy. That's the problem.
Yeah. And it's so funny because like literally the whole time I'm like glamming it up. Nobody's like really hitting on me because I have a boyfriend, and they respect another man.
Nice.
Um, but like as soon as senior year happened and I broke up with my boyfriend, I like intentionally was like dressing like a 12-year-old boy. And I had never got hit on so much in my life. It was
Really? By
so
who? What types
ridiculous.
of people were hitting on
Like a bunch of guys who were like, "So
you?
I know you
Really?
broke up with this dude." And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God. Even when you're like dressing like a boy?
yes.
Oh my
Like I'm
God.
dressing like bummy and like tired and like 10.
But
And
they
there's
smelled
like
it on you. They're like, single.
and like I talked to a couple of guys just because like I was bored. And like it's just so funny. Like they didn't care at all.
No. It's funny because like I had kind of like an opposite experience. Where like I feel like when I okay, so my end of like junior year through senior year, I had a boyfriend and I was dressing very femme and all the things. And then after we had broken up, and then I was like graduated high school already and all that stuff. And I started like kind of discovering my gender more. So I started wearing like more masculine things. And like it made me feel like so alone and single.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just like San Diego is very superficial. I live in like Southern California and it's very superficial. So it's very much like I did not look like the blonde beach babe girlies in their
Yeah.
Lululemons and like super skinny. Like I know I'm still like smaller, but like they're like
Yeah.
0 0 0s.
It's like early
um,
2000s.
yeah, yes. So like whenever I would dress to like express myself, I noticed people would like me less. Like boys would like me less, or like people
Yeah.
would just be like a little bit meaner. So I would like try even harder to like avoid that and be like, oh, hyper fat. I got big boobies. Like,
Yeah, that's probably also definitely based on where we live because, like, I live in Ohio.
okay.
Okay, what you see is what you get. Um,
Oh no. So
you know,
they're just automatically default assuming you're straight. Like it's not even a question.
no, I've been out as bisexual since I was like 9.
Oh really?
It was an
That's cool.
accident,
Oh
actually.
no. I
So,
was like, oh,
like,
that's so cool.
I didn't know how the incognito tab worked. So I was looking up lesbian porn. And then when my stepmom or my dad did one of my like regular checks on my phone, because I'm like 9, they were like, "Hey, so see you're looking at lesbians. Are you a lesbian now?" And I was like, "No, I like both." And they were like, "Cool."
Really? That's so good.
Yeah,
Wow.
but like most of my family, I'm pretty sure are bisexual. My grandma used to be a lesbian until she
Really?
repented. Um, but like she was like my first like real life seeing a lesbian relationship, and I was like, oh, we do that.
Wow. Wow. So like did they like explain that to you or did they like try and keep it like discreet?
Well, my stepmom kind of has this policy where she just does not lie to us. Uh, so like she'll just tell us stuff that like happened to her, like super fucked up shit that happened to her when she was like 16 or 18. Cause like my parents used to do like hardcore drugs. So like
Wow.
she would just tell me fucked up stories. So like when they found the porn, they were like, hey, make sure you use condoms and blah 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 blah, like that stuff. But like they've never really had a conversation about their sexualities, and I don't
It
really
just was
need
what it
it.
was.
Yeah, because like
Nice.
I've heard things, and like I pretty much know they've done things with both sides, so I'm kind of like, okay.
Yeah, no, that's really good though. Because like for me, I literally did not know that like gay people existed until like late middle school, and then in
Mhm.
late middle school, even when like I had friends that were like bisexual, and I was just like, but that's not the rules.
That was so hard because I didn't come out like in school until like sixth grade or something.
Oh,
Because
really?
like when I found out, there was this other girl who came out as bisexual, and everybody was saying it was because she couldn't get any dudes. And they were like, she hasn't been in any relations with the dudes, so she's just trying to open up her dating pool to girls. And I was like,
It
what?
is where you lived. Was it like a smaller school?
Yeah. Like I had
Okay,
known those
that makes
kids
sense.
since kindergarten.
Okay, because like I went to a lot of like bigger schools. They're very big, and like if you weren't like dating a lot of people, it's just that there's so many damn people, and like if you just get lost in the crowd, like that just kind of makes sense. So it's so interesting to be like they would notice because like nobody noticed. So like I just didn't have a boyfriend any of like middle school. Like I tried,
Yeah.
but like it just but like so it's interesting to hear like the difference between that and how like people would notice like your relationships between people that
You
closely.
know, we were like Glee. Like everybody had dated everybody at one point, you know?
Wow.
And if you hadn't, then it was like drama. They were like, why didn't you date them?
Wow.
Yeah.
Glee was set in Ohio, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
That was
I'm
my
literally
favorite part.
watching Glee, rewatching Glee
I was
right
like, yep, this
now.
is Ohio. Yep, this is something that would happen in Ohio.
Wow. Yeah. It is very Ohio. That makes sense now. I've never been, but now it feels like I
Yeah.
have.
Glee showing everybody what it's like in Ohio. If only they had shown more construction, then it would have been perfect.
Oh yeah.
There's literally always construction happening on every other street for like no
Really?
reason. But it was just like really like ridiculous to me that people had said that because like in my brain I was like, you date girls and guys because you like them both,
Mhm.
not because you can't get one or the other. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
And I was just like so scared to come out at that school. And it wasn't until I went to go live with my dad that like I was kind of like out to the public, I guess.
Mhm.
I was like out to my family, but like not out to the public until like I went to that other middle school.
How did you like? Did you ever like not like make a post, but like make like a coming out? Like, what was your like coming out experience? Was it just like for like friends and stuff like
So when I moved, I kind of just like led with that.
that? Hmm.
I was like, yeah, I'm a nerd. I'm bisexual. I'm hyper fixated on Marvel. Like it was just like the
Yes,
list. And I just let people know up
this
front.
is me.
Yeah, because like by the time I was about to move at my like first elementary school, I had no friends. Because by then they were like, okay, this kid is definitely autistic. Like there's something wrong with this kid. And like I was
Something's
done giving
different.
them like school answers like on tests and stuff. So they were like, we don't have a use for them anymore. We're gonna bully them.
No,
Yeah. And
no.
it's so messed up because I didn't realize they were bullying me until
You never
after I
do.
moved.
I never did. I didn't realize until I graduated high school that I was bullied a lot.
Yeah. Like even
Not a lot, but
in
like enough to
like even in a romantic relationship I was in, like they were bullying me and I didn't even know it. Like they were like doing it to the whole class. Yeah.
What would they do?
So like so one like the one that was like 6 months no, he would break up with me on and off and I thought it was just because like I had done something weird that day or he was upset. And it was because everybody else in the class was telling him to break up with me on different days. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That that would like send me into a spiral. How did you deal with that?
Like when I found out, like near the end of the relationship, I was just like, why are you listening to them? I don't get it, you know? Like it didn't make any sense to me that I wasn't like upset because I was like, yeah, sometimes I do what people tell me to do too. But I was like, why do you keep listening? Like it's been 6 months and we keep getting back together. Obviously, you want to date me. Like,
Yeah. Like, what's the point of this?
exactly. It was like the weirdest thing. There
No,
was one, this
that
boy
would
got
definitely like set
dared.
me up to be so scared of like future relationships.
Oh yeah. This boy got dared to take me to a dance and then break up with me the day after the dance. Yeah.
Would you in school, would you have like when you're like walking down like wherever you're going and it would be like a group of boys and they'd be like, my friend thinks you're cute, he thinks you're so cute, and then
Mhm.
you'd be like, oh haha, like, and then you'd be like, oh my gosh, the boy thinks you're cute, and then they're all like laughing and you're like, why are they laughing?
Yeah, or different girls would like pretend to be my friend and try to figure out who I had a crush on. And then once I told them, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get you a date." And then they would just go over there and laugh and then come back and be like, "He doesn't want a date." And I'd be like, "Oh, I
No,
guess he doesn't want a date." And now I'm
no.
thinking, like a couple years ago, I was like, they were just laughing at me. She wasn't.
Middle school girls are the most evil.
Yeah.
And I never understood why people felt the need to be mean to each other. Like
Hmm.
that just didn't make sense to me. Like I was homeschooled all throughout elementary school and then I
Hmm.
finally went to public school and middle school. So I was just eager to make friends. I
Yeah.
was just like happy to be
Yeah.
there.
You're like,
And
there's
I didn't understand
people.
like I didn't understand like kids are mean. Like people are
Hmm.
just mean and they just are. And like obviously that's a good thing to learn. Like some
Yeah.
people just aren't gonna like you. But oh my god, why did they have to do it like that? Why
Yes.
did they have to do that? I remember I in middle school, I had a crush on this boy for the longest time and he lived up my street and I wrote him like a letter and like basically saying that I liked him, but I didn't say who I was. And I gave it to my friend, and she gave it to him. And
Hmm.
then she told me that he got up like on his chair in the whole class and like read it out loud to people.
Oh
And like people were like
no.
laughing and stuff, and I was just like, maybe he was just like really excited
Oh
about it, and he just felt like he had to
no.
share that. And then he wrote me like, oh, like let me know who you are, and I'll meet up with you at lunch. And
No.
she gave that back to me. And then I gave him like a hint of who I was. I would always wear a headband like fucking
Hmm.
Matilda, and because I love Matilda, so I would always wear a headband. And I was like, oh, red headband. And then he like knew who I was. And I guess him and his friends all laughed and called me very
Oh
ugly.
no.
And like basically saying like, oh, I would never like date this person, this and that. And I was just,
Ugh.
I was crushed, mortified. I was like, I knew that like, I understood that they were making fun of me at that
Hmm.
point because they were just so obvious about it. And I was like, oh my God, I'm ruined as a person. And
Yeah.
then my emo phase
Yeah. But on to
began.
happier romantic relationships.
Yes.
How did your husband take you, like finding out your gender and then coming out to him?
So basically, what happened was I was watching a video. I think it was a TikTok, and it was a person getting top surgery, and it was like their reveal of seeing their chest for the first time.
Oh, I
And
love
I was watching it, and I was crying
it.
in like the corner of our living room, and I was just like crying on the floor. And he was just like, "What's wrong?" And I was just like scared to tell him because every relationship that I've heard of somebody coming out as trans, I've heard
Mm-hmm.
them separating.
Yeah.
And even if it's like, oh, they
Like if they
still like
didn't
are
trans the other
friends.
person, then they would separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, and so I was just like, okay, well, if I come out to him, that just means that we're going to separate. And we're already married at that point. So I was scared. We were very freshly married. And I just didn't want to do that. And then eventually he just kept at me. He's like, you can tell me. Like, you're obviously upset. Like, I want to help you. And I just kind of explained to him. I was like, I don't think that I'm a girl, but I don't think that I am necessarily a man. And I was explaining to him what non-binary means. And he's never heard of that before. He came from a very traditional, he grew up in a very Mexican traditional upbringing. And there's not like a lot of talk of like gender nonconformity. And things like that. And so it took a little bit of like explaining further because, and that's very fair.
Yeah.
But he was just kind of like, well, I love you. And I want to help you. And it just kind of took some time for like me to learn more about like what my gender means and like terms and things like that, and me helping him understand things and showing him videos and all that. And he's honestly been like it really didn't take him long to get my, like, right when I told him like, I think I want my pronouns to be like they, them. I think that's what I want right now. And then at the time I wanted my name to be Robin. So like he would and it just switched for him. It was very easy. And I was like, this is very easy for you. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Because I was expecting it to be harder for him. And like I expected to like help him with it. But he's honestly been like the only person who from the start just like got it right away and is just very comfortable like talking with friends, being like, oh, that's my spouse, like that's not my wife, that's my spouse.
That's amazing.
And correcting people and like helping me like build up the confidence to like come out to my family and his family and all that stuff. So I think coming out to him first in this process was like definitely like, I'm very thankful for that because he's been like very awesome about it. But, yeah.
So my current boyfriend is the boyfriend I broke up with in high school. We got back together.
Oh.
Yeah.
Also cool.
And like when I started to figure it out, I also like thought about those trans people who like came out and like broke up with their partners because like it didn't work out. And I was so nervous. But like I was like, what if I just like hint at it a bit and then maybe he'll be fine. So I just I just started dressing more like a 12-year-old boy and like saying those little things like I look like a little boy and be like, you're so gay. And just be like saying little things just to like kind of like sneak it in there.
Test the waters. I love that.
So then by the time I finally came out, before I even came out, he was like, do you know about non-binary people? And I was like, yeah, I do. I follow a lot of them on TikTok, yeah. And like a couple weeks later, we were looking at one of my TikToks where I was like in a crappy mood, but I was like, I'm so glad for non-binary people who like get to dress how they want to dress. And he saw that and he was like, are you? And I was like, okay, maybe a little bit. And he was like, yeah, that's totally fine. Like, I love you. And I was like, oh my gosh. And like, don't get me wrong. It's like a little hard for him to wrap his brain around because like I'm not out to my parents. And so I'm not going to be out to his family to like make it more complicated between our families or whatever.
Sure.
So like sometimes he'll like get in the she mode from like hanging out with our parents or something. And then it'll be just us and he'll be like still be in she mode and I'll be like, hello.
You like snap out.
Yeah. I'm like, we're alone now. Stop it.
No. That's very hard though. Because like I wonder on his side of it how it feels. Cause like I know what it's like to be around like families that don't know yet and
Mm.
having to like kind of like misgender like
Oh
in
yeah.
front of them, or like
It's
having people
very
have to
fun.
misgender me in front of people, and it's so like it's hard for me
Uh-huh.
to be the misgenderer, and then like
Yeah.
it's so hard to like witness the person that like usually doesn't do that
Hmm.
because they have to.
Yeah, it's super fun to just be like cosplaying as a lady for my grandma's Mother's Day
Dress
dinner.
up
Like,
time.
and like we'll be like in the car on the way there, and I'm like pouting, and he's like, I know you hate looking like a lady. I know, I know. And then like as soon as we leave, I like pull out some basketball shorts, and he's like, there's my little raccoon.
Deconstruct. Oh my god. No, and it's so, because like before, so I had come out to my parents, and then I wasn't out to like my family yet, my
Mhm.
extended family. So I would definitely like turn on to like the like girly girl
Mhm.
and be like, oh, I have to wear pants because I'm not shaving my legs. I worked hard on
Yeah,
these, and like
yeah.
it's a whole process,
Yes. And also, I'm so proud of my leg hair. I grew that myself,
right? Right? I
literally.
love my legs. I feel like part of like me coming out was like me kind of explaining like to my husband, kind of like, is it like I want to have like body
Yeah.
hair? Like I've always wanted it, and like, is that gonna make you like unattracted to me? And he's like, bro, like I love you, like, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh god. This
Yeah.
takes
Like,
so much effort, and I want to feel hot and sexy fun the way like I'm supposed to, not the way that like other
exactly.
people think I'm supposed
Yeah.
to.
Like, we had a conversation, and he was like, so, like, do you want to start tea? And I was like, low doses. He was like, do you want to chop up the tatas? And I was like, not really, but we got to see where that goes. And he was like, okay. If I get a vote, I'd like to keep the tatas.
Valid. Tatas are fun.
Yeah, and I was like, it's noted. It's noted.
You're like noted, but like you don't have final say. Just so you
Exactly. Exactly.
know. Yeah.
Okay. So before we say goodbye, I have a
Mhm.
couple of like gender themed games I have for you.
Fun.
Um, the first one is, does this give you gender envy? You can explain or not if you don't want to. I'm just gonna give you something random, and you can explain or just say yes or no.
Okay.
So the first thing is 90-degree weather.
90-degree weather. I think, okay, 90-degree weather, I feel like is very, I get gender envy because the sun is masculine, the moon is
Mhm.
feminine, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And I love being like, I'm from San Diego. I love like putting on my like surfer boy, skater boy persona and my little shorts and tank tops. So
Mhm.
I would say I get very much gender
Okay.
envy.
Number two are aviator sunglasses.
Oh my god, no.
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
Only because it's just not my gender.
Yeah.
They give almost police officer.
Hmm.
And I also, they're always too big for my tiny head. So I
Yeah.
just feel like a little boy dressing up like a Paw Patrol.
Okay. And the final one is a possum.
Possum.
Hmm.
Mm, I get very feminine energy from possum, so I
Okay.
would say no. I
That's
feel like I'm
hilarious.
definitely a different rodent. I'm just not sure
Possums give me like creepy old dude in a wife beater tank.
yet. Okay.
So
Okay.
like no. But
See,
also they give me like creepy dude energy.
they give me like feral mom. They give me like the mom who like they will drive you home, but they're also like not a good driver, and they're also like gonna be like, yeah, you can just chase vodka with like tequila or something. Um, like, like they're just like I just get enabler, toxic, female. Not like toxic, but like toxic in a fun way. Like I definitely want them
Okay.
around.
And
Yeah.
then for our last game for this episode,
Okay.
would you give them a queer happy ending? So you sent in 5 TV shows that you love to watch in your guest form, and I'm just gonna pick 2 different characters from 2 of the shows and see if you would give them a queer happy ending. So the first one is Frenchie from Our Flag Meets Death.
Frenchie.
Yes,
And who else? Just him?
just him. Like,
And I have
would
to
you
pick
give him his
another
own
person?
separate queer happy ending?
Oh my god. Okay. Wait. Oh, what's his name? Roach? Imagine. No, but okay, I feel like I would give him a story with Roach, and Roach would like make him like cakes and things and like cute little
Okay.
like pastries and like
Adorable.
hey, stop yelling at each other. And I feel like they would like kind of teach each other a lot of things, and they would get into like a lot of little shenanigans. I would definitely give them both a happy.
That's adorable. Okay, and then finally, Peppermint Butler from Adventure Time.
Peppermint Butler, and oh my god, this choice is so important to me. Wait, let me think for a second. Okay. Wait, do I have to give them a happy ending, or can there be drama?
You can say no. You could say they don't get a happy ending if you want.
Okay. I think that Peppermint Butler would like he would definitely make a move on Lemongrab, and then Lemongrab would just be like so confused by his presence and like advances at him that he would just be like unacceptable, this is not it, and like scream. I'm not gonna scream right now.
Yeah.
And Peppermint Butler would probably always have like some beef with him and like never ending resentment and like a secret like internal mission to end Lemongrab and his entire legacy. And that's how I think that would end for his brilliance.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Do you have anything you want to promote before we say goodbye?
I have an art Instagram. It's at jake.robin.art with like the little periods in between are the dots.
I will put it in the description of this episode of the podcast, just so everybody has a like written way to see it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Yeah. Okay,
Great.
bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you again to our guest, Jake, for joining me on the topic of romantic relationships. Our Lives, Gender Included is created by Faitze, hosted by Faitze, edited by Faitze, and produced by Faitze. To access my socials, the link in the description will have my website, lyricallyfaight.wixsite.com/Faitze, and you will find the links to all of my socials. And if you click the support page, you can support me financially via a one-time donation on my PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo. Or you can subscribe to Anchor to just support this podcast, or subscribe to my Patreon at the various tiers I offer for different benefits. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day in the simulation.